Hello students, today we are going to discuss the slope of a graph. Actually, so many of you don't have an idea about the slope of a graph. Actually, what slope of a graph does? Let's get an idea about that. First of all, whenever we discuss about slope, suppose here I am drawing two graphs. So not two graphs, so many graphs I am drawing. One already I have drawn with black, another I am drawing with red, another I'm drawing with, let's take green, another graph I'm drawing with suppose any other color. If I'll take, suppose I'm drawing with blue, let me draw, I'm drawing with another graph that is blue. Means now let's see, now here let me draw it properly. See students, here I have drawn two graphs. One graph with blue, I'm giving them name as A. One graph I have drawn with green, I'm giving them name as B. One graph I have drawn at black, I'm giving them name as C. Let me draw it properly. Now another graph. Now students, we have drawn four graphs A, B, C, D. Okay. Now here, before discussing about the slope of a graph, actually what we know about the slope. Suppose all of you are actually running or traveling along the slopy hill area. Okay. Suppose if I am not discussing about the graphical relevance, if I am telling you, suppose four of your friends are actually traveling along four paths. One friend is traveling along, suppose, path A, another friend is traveling along path B, another friend is traveling along path C, another friend is traveling along path D. Okay. Now you might be thinking, or you might be thinking, which path will be more easier, or which path will be more slopy or more steeper. Obviously, by observation we can see that the path D, the graph D or the line D is more steeper, or I can tell you that graph D is having more steepness or more slope. Now, means if I am telling by only an observation, we can say that D is the steepest graph, C is less steeper, B is less steeper than C, and A is the least steepest graph. Now the thing is, how we can determine the slope of a graph mathematically. Mathematically, the formula for slope of a graph is, let's write, slope of a graph, that will be equals, mathematically we can say slope of a graph, it is equal to change in slope of a graph, it is equals to change in vertical axis divided by change in horizontal axis. Change in vertical axis divided by change in horizontal axis. Now you might be thinking, okay, slope is what? Change in vertical axis. What is the vertical axis over here? Y. And what is the horizontal axis over here? X. So what mathematically slope is telling? Let's obtain the slope of graph D. Now here, suppose we take the value. Suppose we take the value here 5, 10, 15, and along x-axis suppose we are taking the values 2, and this is origin obviously 0, 2, 4. Now you see here, what is the change in x-axis? Change in x-axis is 2. And what is the change in y-axis? 5. Now what is the change along the vertical axis over here for this graph? G. Now the change in vertical axis over here, 5. Here final position is 5, initial position is 0. So if we are discussing for graph D the change in vertical axis, the change in vertical axis will give you 5 minus 0, final point minus initial point, divided by, what is the change in horizontal axis? Final position 2, initial position 0. So what does it give? It gives a slope of 5 by 2. That means what? That means if I'm discussing what is actually slope, the formula of the slope will be, if I'm writing the slope formula will be, let me write, change in an xy graph, the slope formula will be change in y axis, means vertical axis, divided by change in x axis, where delta means change. That means if I am asking you how to determine the slope in the easiest method, the easiest method one is the change in horizontal axis, a change in vertical axis divided by change in horizontal axis. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Now all of you will be agreeing with me. Okay, we have understood that slope can be determined by the formula change in horizontal axis, change in vertical axis divided by change in horizontal axis. There is another method of determining the slope. Let's discuss about that. Now, if I am asking you that this is a graph and we have to obtain the slope here, another formula of slope it would be, that is, if I'm writing here the another formula of slope, tan theta, if I'm denoting it by theta, tan theta equals change in y by change in x. That means another formula of slope is that if I'm asking you what is the value of slope over here, what is the value of theta, how can you obtain that? First, by manual method we can easily obtain that change in y axis divided by change in x axis. But if I am deriving the slope by normal method, now what the theta value gives, then theta value will be tan theta equals del y by del x. Let's take an example how we can obtain. See, here suppose we are determining here, let me draw here 5 10, okay, here 2 4. Now suppose what is the change along y axis 10, change along x axis 4. So tan theta we can write, if I am writing here tan theta, so tan theta equals, we can write change in y axis how much, 10 minus 0 10, 10 minus 0 10 divided by 4 minus 0 4. That means tan theta will give you equals 5 by 2. So theta we can write tan inverse 5 by 2. So this is how we can obtain the slope of a graph with the help of the formula. And similarly, suppose I am asking what will be the slope of distance time graph. Suppose I am asking you a formula I am writing, let me erase it. Suppose I am asking you the slope of distance time graph, slope. Now what is the change along y-axis? Distance. What is the slope change along time axis? Time. So distance by time, the slope of distance time graph will give you speed. Similarly, if I am asking you what will be the slope of velocity time graph, let me write what is the slope of velocity time graph. Change in velocity will give you change in velocity by change in time. Change in velocity by change in time, that will give you what? Acceleration. This is how we can obtain any quantity, we can obtain the slope of any graph. This is for today. Thank you. Stay tuned.